And here's the second poem of Saturday, April 27th, 2019. It's not as long as the last one, but you don't know what the last one is, I'm sure, anyway. Which was the one about Jenny Mullen Biggs, Jason Biggs' wife, who wrote a book on dropping babies on their noggins or something. Saturday, April 27th, 2019, Anachronism 2854 is called First Ladies, or How Not to Explode Under Pressure. Well, some regular-looking guy sidles up to a bar, orders a drink, reminds himself that it's April already, for Pete's sake, and that he has yet to do his taxes for a few years now, in all honesty. But yet he believes in the system, in its ideology, in its process to reduce evil as a means to slog through an increasingly complex good, i.e. the progress of humankind, even in romance. And he, a disavowed goth kid, he claims, and I can feel us all trying to find earnestly a smidgen of that kid as we chomp our various potato incarnations. You can see him trying to find the kid that must have been him, or the one that was the he that once was. So he believes in the progress of mankind. I learn all of this as I sit next to him during one of those overly long dinners. But this is one I have no anxiety enduring, a dinner that was mostly just drinks, which has got to help that lingering relaxation. I sat through literally feeling a light bulb suddenly pop out with its beam of luminescence on at least a couple of occasions. The most meaningful to me was when he suddenly felt he understood everything. Just in that moment, and for only a few that followed, then it apparently left him. I know these moments well, when everything suddenly makes absolute sense and can be explained away, even in terms of some of the most peculiar pairings that exist in the same cosmos. In fact, within mind-boggling proximity. Anyway, it was an occasion of some significance, this dinner, taken with complete strangers. At least it seemed so to most of us who tuned in from time to time to listen to his pretty elementary and poignant ramblings. Good for him, I am thinking days later, perhaps, because not every Tom, Dick, or Harriet has her very own nickel psychiatrist. If we've learned anything during these sessions in which we find ourselves dining with complete strangers, isn't it surely this, that nothing whatsoever should be taken for granted? Nothing. Most especially that Dame Jade refills my prescriptions without fail every single month. My problem is indeed anxiety, purportedly, and it doesn't just happen on airplanes. Therapy works, right? Unless you're on one of those new, what do you call them? Those 90-day refill plans? And that, my friends, during which we both stifle chuckles, is, as they say, and even by me, well, of course, so often wondering so hard on whom this they might actually be, an entirely different ball of wax. And don't we know it? Thank you. We remember the first time we realized what a doctor's appointment was all about, so that we can pass such morsels on to those as yet uninitiated. Oh, humanity, progress, etc. It is quite simply to prance into the doc's lobby, sit for the 5 to 20 minutes on average until called, at which time you try to recall with some accuracy the maze of cubicles and gadgets you need to map yourself from where you were sitting to her office. Also remember that she goes by Jade. Says don't call her Dr. Anyone. And once you find this nice little working box with a view of Alcatraz, say, okay, Jade, I have a fear of flying. And I've been taking a poll for something for 20 years now on what my people, the ones with the same condition, a poll which won't be the handiest tool of the trade, but it's not completely illogical. Don't forget, Miss Jade, that I'm basically logic personified, right? So anyway, Jade dear, this very lengthy and logical semi-scientific poll I took using my old pals as lab rats, which weren't exactly randomly chosen, was my way of trying to find a way around this illogical fear. So my queries of that good portion of the world that seeks an answer or some remedy to this fear, it looks to me like Xanax is going to be my answer. I mean, really. I still very much desire to experience as much of the world as is humanly possible at my age. So can you please write me a prescription for enough Xanax? I would prefer the 1 milligram to the 0.5s to get me to Boston and back. That'll be the trial run, of course, which, by the way, worked splendidly. So that shortly after that, I can turn 40 in Paris, hang out with the Parisians for a couple of weeks, and get back in one semi-sane single solid, please. Then she, of course, habitually inserts her hand into her left lab coat inside pocket and comes out with that old-school-looking rubber band-topped prescription pad that is, we all now understand, the guiding light of these visits. Within seconds, she has written you out a prescription for something illegible. It's true. That turns out to be like 20 Xanax. That, my friend, and I can't stress this enough, is the game changer. And just of note, they don't let people without medical insurance or who have a homeless background now in San Francisco Bay Area and probably several areas in the country. I'm not even sure. But they don't allow Xanax. The only thing that really works for my anxiety, and I had a prescription for years and years, just a very small prescription. I utilized it daily, which it can be. Anyway, it's because of the fentanyl scourge, and I have to say that it is a big problem for me, and and I think it's pathetic that this is the way that this is handled. I really do. I think it's completely discriminatory and problematic, and I will say that anytime I get an opportunity to do so, and I do that with every doctor I talk to, and every I really do. Anyway, that's just me. That, my friend, is the game changer. That's a part of humanity evolving in which we can palpably feel ourselves participating, if not sometimes clinging to, with our dear lives. And I do understand the reasons and the problems with that particular medication, but it is the one which actually makes me feel like I'm a human. Never knew what that felt like until I had it the first time, and it relieves all. I mean, I'm an extrovert who has social anxiety. It's nothing less than a massive game changer, and it's really problematic that they've done what they've done. It's been 5 years now that I have not been able to take it, I think. That's a part of humanity evolving in which we can palpably feel ourselves participating, if not sometimes clinging to, with our dear lives. Soon thereafter, he turns 40 in Paris, his very first trip abroad, and the rest is history. Which you can judge, if by nothing else, a peek into his medicine cabinet. Alone. Alone again. Poor dear medicine cabinet. What? Well, lots has been learned, I would say, especially today. We learned how to do one thing the unwritten but most appropriate way in a world in which we find increasingly more bizarre day after day after day. Thank you. That's the poem.